Hello, good morning, students. Today we have to discuss the next law, that is after triangle law, parallelogram law of vectors. Now, see in this law, we are considering here parallelograms. Means what parallelograms? Two vectors are here. So, vector OA, it is represented by vector P, and vector OB, it is represented by vector Q. So, two vectors are here and they are started from a common point. See here, suppose this vector P and this one is vector Q. They are starting from a common point. So O is the common point for vector P as well as vector Q. Therefore, these two vectors are co-initial vectors. Okay. I think I have told you that is what is co-initial vectors. Mean those vector which starts from the common points or equal points. So the vectors are called as co-initial vectors. Now see, if two vectors are there and they are co-initial, and if we start a resultant from its common point, then this resultant represents the diagonal of this parallelogram. See the statement in statement, if two vectors are acting simultaneously at a point are represented by two adjacent sides, means these two vectors are nothing but they are adjacent side of a parallelogram, then the resultant is represented in magnitude and direction by the diagonal of the same parallelogram starts from the common points. Means if we are considering these two sides, that is whatever, that is vector P and vector Q, these two vectors are co-initial vectors. Okay, but if they are two adjacent sides of a parallelogram, then what about its diagonal? Then the common point, from the common point of these two vectors, if we draw a diagonal of this parallelogram, then this diagonal represents as a resultant. It means that in case of parallelogram law of vectors, whatever may be the diagonal of that parallelogram, so which one is the diagonal here? OC. OC, that is the diagonal, and OC represents, that is vector R. Vector R stands for what? Resultant. Means in this parallelogram, if two vectors are there and they are acts as a two adjacent sides of a parallelogram, then at the same time a resultant which starts from the common point, this resultant is nothing but its diagonal, or whatever may be the diagonal of that parallelogram, it always represents the resultant of the parallelogram. Okay, so see this article is very important, and the question may be asked on this article for direction, or we can say resultant. How we can calculate the resultant of given vectors? Means to calculate the resultant of given vectors, we must know the parallelograms and its method. The special type of method is there, that is analytical methods, which we have to discuss. So you should write here analytical method. Analytical method means with the help of this method we can calculate the resultant of this parallelogram. So this method is very important, and number of questions asked on this article to calculate the resultant of the given vectors. Okay, so for that purpose, just we have to modify this diagram. This diagram is like this vector OA, then vector OB and vector OC. Similarly, we can extend this OA, so extend this OA up to this point and draw one perpendicular from point C. So this is a perpendicular, this point is D point and this is A point. So whatever the angle inclination, it is theta. Now consider the angle between vector P and vector Q, that is angle theta, and the angle between vector P and vector R is supposed to be angle alpha. Now in parameters, what we have to write? Just what we are considering in this diagram, like OA. So vector OA is can be represented by vector P. Then vector OB means vector Q. Then vector OC, that is the resultant, vector R. Theta, angle between vector P and vector Q. This vector P and vector Q, in between these two vectors, angle inclination theta is there. Then alpha is also angle between vector P and resultant vector R. Okay, so this is about the diagrams. Now see, in this diagram, so from this diagram we have to calculate first of all the formula for resultant, means how we can calculate the resultant of this diagram. So to calculate the resultant, we must know here the Pythagoras theorems. See here, concentrate on here, this triangle, that is OCD. So in a triangle OCD, in a triangle OCD, using Pythagoras, so in triangle OCD, hypotenuse is OC. So we know the Pythagoras theorem, that is OC square is equal to, that is hypotenuse square is equal to OD square, that is the base square, OD square plus height square means CD square. So this is the Pythagoras theorem. And we know the Pythagoras theorem, that is hypotenuse square is equal to base square plus height square. So OC square is equal to OD square plus CD square. But what we are considering here, OD is equal to OA plus AD. OA plus AD. So we can substitute the value of OD here, that is OC square is equal to OA plus AD bracket square plus CD square. Okay. Now we can apply the formula. That formula is A plus B bracket square, that is A square plus 2AB plus B square. So this is the formula. So this is the formula which we have to apply here, that is a plus b bracket square, a square plus 2ab plus b square. So see here how the equation we can write, that is OC square is equal to a square means what, OA square plus 2 as it is, a means OA into b means AD plus b square means AD square plus remaining term is CD square. Now in a triangle, a next triangle is ACD. So ACD, in triangle ACD, again using Pythagoras theorem. So Pythagoras theorem, so this one is the hypotenuse, that is AC is the hypotenuse. So hypotenuse square means AC square is equal to base square. Base, which one is base here? That is AD. So AD square plus what about the height? CD square. This is the height. So AD square plus CD square means what? AC square. So this is equation. Suppose this one is equation number 1. This one is second. Now equation 1. So instead of AC square, AD square plus CD square, so this term. So instead of this term, we can write AC square. Okay. So therefore equation 1 becomes, therefore equation 1 becomes, equation 1 is OC square is equal to OA square plus 2OA dot AD plus, so instead of AD square plus CD square, what we have to write? That is AC square. So we can write here AC square. Equation number 3.